Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon or good evening, and welcome to the webinar on how to successfully implement a sustainable procurement program, lessons learned from 6 programs around the world. My name is Milena Beckman and I work for the UN Environment Sustainable Public Procurement team in Paris. Before we start, I will give you a brief introduction into the GoToWebinar tool. All attendees are on listen-only mode. If throughout the webinar you have a remark or a question, you can either raise your hand by using the corresponding button on the GoToWebinar control panel, or write your questions in the question box and we will read them in due time. The webinar will be recorded and the recording will be made available to you after the webinar. And without further delay, I will give the floor to Farid Yaker, Program Officer at UNEP.
Thank you, Milena, and thanks to all of you for attending this webinar. Thanks to all those that are waking up very early, some of you in the middle of the night, and to those of you that are staying very late to take part. I would like to thank Milena for having organized this webinar, and also to thank Jean-Louis from Planet Procurement, who is co-organizing this webinar with us. It will be in the webinar we will present 6 major programs and networks who are, first of all, the Sustainable Choice from Australia, and we will hear Tania Lalor, who is the Sustainable Choice Program Manager. We will have also a presentation from Magali Silva from the Association Aquitaine des Achats Publics Responsables. Jean-Louis will deliver an overview of the benchmarking study that he did on the 6 programs, but he will also present the Sustainable Purchasing Leadership Council of the USA on behalf of SPLC. We will have a presentation from Philip Tepper, who is the Procura Plus coordinator, which is a network led by ICLE, local authorities for sustainability. We will have a presentation from Laurence Cesbron, who is the European Relationships Manager of the Réseau Grand Ouest in France. And Jean-Louis will also speak on behalf of the Italian organization Planning Environmental Education. We will allow you to ask questions, and we will have a discussion with all of you before closing at 11:30. I would like now to present the framework, i.e. the program that is led by UNEP and co-led by ICLE and Katie in the framework of the 10-year framework of programs. Next slide, do I have? Okay, thanks. I think Jean-Louis is managing the slides. Okay, so I think it's for those of you that are not completely familiar with this UN framework that was adopted at Rio Plus 20, which is called the 10-year framework program on sustainable consumption and production patterns. So we're organizing this webinar today as part of this framework, which is really the major program of action aimed at enhancing international cooperation and at accelerating the shift towards SCP patterns that was adopted at Rio Plus 20. It was one of the major outcomes of Rio Plus 20. And the aim is really to support capacity building and provide technical and financial assistance to developing countries for this shift. But we also have in mind and also target developed countries. It's really an international framework. And this webinar aims also at exchanging knowledge, at sharing knowledge, learning from each other, and this is really the essence of this program. That's why we're really happy to host this webinar today. Next. Okay, so in Rio, they already agreed on 6 initial programs, and you can see that Sustainable Public Procurement is one of these initial programs with 5 other ones. Next one. So our program on sustainable public procurement, what is the major objective of this one? As I said, is really to work together to achieve a collective impact. So we really stress the collaborative nature of the program. And together we try to build the case for SPP. We want to show that it's an effective tool, a strategic tool to promote greener economy and sustainable development. But we also together support the implementation of SPP on the ground through increased collaboration between major stakeholders, but also through a better access to capacity building and information tools. Next. As I said, the program in terms of governance is led by UNEP, co-led by ICLE and Katie. We have 22 members on our advisory board, which is called the Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Committee. Next one. We have for the moment 100 partners with a steady increase in the number of partners and a very good geographical distribution, but also organizational distribution. Next one. In terms of program of work, we establish working groups that deliver outputs, and you can see here our four work areas. We also have a knowledge management program making use of the SCP clearinghouse that some of you may be familiar with. We also have some cross-cutting research activities. For example, we publish every 3 years the global review on SPP GPP. We also have sub-networks like the SPP academic network that is being established right now. Next one. So these are the outputs that I mentioned from the working groups. So you can see here on the top left the global review on SPP, which was published in 2012. The next one will be published at the end of 2016 or beginning of 2017. It's really a snapshot of the evolution of SPP and GPP at world level, the challenges, the achievements, and the perspectives of this area. We also work on the monitoring of SPP, trying to establish an international framework on monitoring SPP, on the measurement of the impact of SPP, on the sustainability of supply chains and how they can be impacted by sustainable procurement, on new resource-efficient business models and new areas like functionality and how it can influence sustainable public procurement. Next one. So it's really for those of you that are not yet part of the program, I'd like to invite you to join, and this will allow you to access really a broad network of organizations working together to accelerate the shift to SPP. It will allow you to make your work visible and known, but also to share your experience with the other partners, but also to benefit from advice and technical support on SPP implementation. And we hope that the webinar organized today is in line with this objective. And most importantly, and not most importantly, but good to know that it's free, it's cost-free being a member. Next one. So here you have the link to the program if you want to know more about the program, and the mail addresses of Sophie and myself. And I think I'm done with this introduction, and without further ado, I will now hand over to Jean-Louis, who will give us his presentation on the global overview of the benchmarking study. Jean-Louis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Farid. Hi, everybody. So my name is Jean-Louis A. I am the Managing Director of Planet Procurement, which is a consultancy providing advisory services and training on sustainable and social procurement. And I've got 15 minutes to present you an overview of this benchmarking study. So this benchmarking study has been commissioned by Sustainable Choice, which is a membership-based program in New South Wales in Australia, the southeast of Australia, where you have Sydney, for example. And the aim is to assist local councils to implement sustainable procurement. And currently it has 74 members, mostly local and regional councils. And really the objective of this benchmarking study was to identify best practice in terms of sustainable procurement programs / networks, because sustainable choice is going through some changes, and they really wanted to understand what are the good practices out there as an input to their new program strategy. So I'm going to give you an overview of those 5 elements that you can see on the screen. Well, first of all, a short presentation of the 6 benchmark programs. So we have Sustainable Choice, of course, from New South Wales, Australia. We have the 3AR from the southwest of France, the Sustainable Purchasing Leadership Council from the USA, Procura Network, which is a European program with different public organizations in different countries of Europe, so very different. The Réseau Grand Ouest, or RGO, from the northwest of France, and the Acquisti Pubblici Ecologici, sorry for my poor Italian accent, which is from the province of Turin. So most of the people that have participated to the benchmark are here tonight. And you won't have time to ask them a lot of questions individually, I would say, so please don't hesitate to send them some questions by email, and myself I would be really happy to give you more information by email as well. Alright, so an overview of those programs. So each of these programs is unique because it has been built and designed and developed in its own context and environment with its own objectives. But what we can say in terms of trends, so half of them are non-for-profit organizations, so they have a legal entity, but the other half do not have a legal entity. They are owned, they're hosted by an organization and just a program of this organization. And this has a big impact in terms of the governance and the way these programs operate. They can be very small, I would say, or very limited in terms of scope, such as the AP in Italy, which is only targeted 2.3 million inhabitants. And then on the other side, you can have organizations, programs such as these SPLC in the US, which is actually targeting the whole United States and even beyond. So very different in that sense. In terms of number and range of beneficiary organizations, of course, this is related to the geographical coverage. But what's interesting to notice is that the SPLC is the only one that has private companies as a substantial proportion of the members. All of the others have only public organizations, so from local to regional councils to state government agencies and other public authorities. So the SPLC is quite unique in that sense. It mixes public, private and non-for-profit, and I will come back to that when I present the SPLC lesson learned. In terms of the key targeted individuals, all of them target probably first procurement people. So that's a key lesson learned from this benchmarking study. It's interesting to see that none of them are really targeting sustainability staff as a major target. The RGO, so the purple one you see there, is a bit original in the sense that it includes elected representatives of local and regional councils and public organizations in the governance. And Laurence Cesbron from the RGO will present this experience. All of those programs, not all of them, sorry, but most of them require a membership fee just to have the basic funds to work. And having a membership fee is something that is widely accepted in all those contexts. In terms of services, all those programs that provide a wide variety of services. But when you look at which services are really the two key services that are really the core service that they provide to their members, you can summarize this in two words. The first is events. So events to recruit, to get people to meet each other and to create a sense of community. And Philip Tepper from the Procura Network will talk about that later on. To train people, to make some induction, and really to get those people to meet. That's the first thing. The second thing is working groups. Working groups to build knowledge together. And build knowledge that will be some sort of guidance or report, but build knowledge that belongs to the program, knowledge that is tailored to the context and environment of those programs. Basically, let's get together and share some knowledge together. In terms of funding model, governance and staff, so funding is of course a key area of concern for all those programs because this is the basis for providing the services and grow and be vibrant, be a vibrant program. In terms of funding, some of them are burdened by reporting and getting advocating and making the lobbying to have the funding secured every year or every 3 years. I would say that some of these programs have been quite smart in first getting an agile funding strategy. So having the membership fees to cover the basics, but then looking for other sources of funding. And the RGO is quite peculiar in that sense because it has 40% of, the 3AR in green has 40% of their funding through external partnerships on pilot projects, and we'll come back to that. The SPLC was quite interesting in terms of funding because when they were created, they asked a Founders Circle to provide 3 years of funds in order to secure their funding for the 3 next years, which provided some security for the program. So I thought it was quite smart. In terms of governance, so some of them have soft governance because it's quite relevant for the context. Some others have a strong governance model. And the SPLC and the RGO are quite, I think, exceptional in that sense, and especially the RGO, which has succeeded from the outset to involve elected representatives in the governance model. So the program is actually owned and led, and all the decisions are taken by the elected representatives. In terms of budget and FTEs, there are very different budgets here, as you can see, and different level of resources in terms of number of FTEs. So it's really related to the capacity of the programs to raise funds that will enable to have sufficient FTEs to provide outstanding and wide variety of services. Next area is external collaborations. So collaborating with organizations that are outside of the program. And in that field, really only two programs out of 6 actually have really seized the opportunity to have strong partnerships. The 3AR has had 7 partnerships on pilot projects, and Magali will present that later on. The case of Procura Plus was actually quite interesting because the Procura Plus network is a European program. They have the challenge of local presence and how they can provide local support to the members and also recruit with the local presence. So what they did is that they put in place a system of strategic partners. They have currently 5 of them in different countries, And what those strategic partners do is they support the recruitment of new members and provide some local support in the country language to the members in different countries. In return for the effort, they get 50% of the fees for new members. So I thought it was a quite smart way to counterbalance the challenge of having such a big geographical area to cover. The last area we covered in this study is impact measurement, and we also talked about the future and the challenges for the future for this program. So in terms of impact measurement, this is probably the biggest area of weakness, I would say, for most of those programs. Sorry, because, well, it's complex. It's complex to measure, to choose what we want to measure and to do it right. It requires some time and effort, and so it requires money in a way. And all the programs want to do it properly. They want to be serious about it, because once you put some impact data out there, you need to make sure they are credible and robust. Two programs have actually really put some effort in doing that. So Sustainable Choice is actually evaluating for each member of the program how they are actually integrating sustainability in their procurement activity, which allows every year the organizations to understand how they are progressing, and which actually also enables to do some benchmarks for all of those organizations in the program. APE in the province of Turin is actually the only one that is measuring sustainability impacts on some categories. So they're doing that on 12 categories. And what they're actually measuring is carbon and energy, and they're actually able to communicate that to the wider audience and also get their members to understand how they're actually having an impact on sustainability. And it's because their only focus is that. That's the only purpose of the organization, and I'll come back to that. All right, so that was a quick overview of the benchmarking study. As I said before, if you want more information, please contact those people that have been involved in the benchmarking study, and I'm really happy to coordinate any interaction if needed. So now we will listen to all of those programs, and for each of those programs we focus on one lesson learned, and each of the representatives of this program will get 5 minutes to really go in depth into one good practice that I want to share with you. So I'll leave it to Tanya Layla to tell us about sustainable choice. Tanya, I'll leave it to you.
Hello, thank you, Jean-Louis. Yes, hi everyone. My name is Tanya Lawler, and I'm one of the program managers for the Sustainable Choice program. As Jean-Louis said, we are a program that is trying to assist New South Wales councils to embed sustainability into their procurement systems. And I'm just going to talk today about one of our lessons learnt in terms of connecting local councils with suppliers of sustainable products and services. This is one of the main objectives of our program. So we do this not only just to assist councils to purchase sustainably, but to also demonstrate to them that sustainable products and services can be just as competitive as standard products and services in terms of price, quality and performance. As we through our work, we have found that often there will be a sustainable champion within a council, and they want these products and services specified, the work's undertaken, but the roadblock is that a lot of people then turn around and see it as going to be more expensive. So we want to demonstrate to them that it's not necessarily more expensive, and it certainly in the long term isn't. So one of the ways that we do this is through trade shows associated with sustainable procurement forums that we run each year. We aim to run 2 of these a year and hold one of these in a regional area in New South Wales and then the other in the Sydney metropolitan area. So the program manages a sustainable suppliers database, and only suppliers that are listed on that database are invited via email to hold a stall at these trade shows. So the trade shows are quite small because the actual forums themselves are quite intimate in nature. So we aim to have only between 6 and 8 suppliers attend the trade show. Now these small events, although they are small, they typically have between, say, 20 to 40 participants. Of course, we get more in the Sydney metropolitan area than we do in a regional area. However, generally, this will represent between 10 to 25 different councils. So it's, although the numbers of actual participants are quite small, the reach is quite great. So generally, suppliers will be allocated stalls at the trade shows on a first-come, first-served basis. However, we do try to have a range of different types of suppliers represented, and with no more than 2 suppliers with similar products. So in that way, it's not always first-come, first-served, but generally we try to do it like that. So during the forum, suppliers are actually located in the room with the forum participants where the presentations are held. So they are very much part of the event. And we allow, there's networking opportunities for them which can occur during the morning tea and lunch breaks, and also before and after the forum. So we were running it this way for quite some time. However, we were finding that participants were not approaching suppliers readily, and suppliers weren't getting the amount of contact they wanted with council officers, and we think that's because it can be, I don't know, quite uncomfortable for some people to go up and speak to someone they don't know, or they might see it as a bit of a marketing spiel and they don't want to be involved with that. So it was turning off participants from wanting to actually go up to the supplier tables. So we tried introducing short supplier presentations just before the morning tea break, and suppliers were given between 2 and 3 minutes just to do a very, very quick presentation, just highlighting who they were and what their sustainable products and services were. However, we didn't find that this led to any increase in the interaction between participants and suppliers during the breaks. So we decided to try a new approach, and we called it speed dating. And essentially, because it is like a speed dating session, although it's largely one-sided, and that's what's involved with this is that we put all participants into groups, and then we move those groups around all of the supplier stalls at 3-minute intervals, and this gives the supplier just enough time to do a quick promotion of their business and their products or services, and it allows participants to get a taste of what's on offer, and then and also leads that gets that introduction, so it's sort of like that icebreaker to allow them to go up during the breaks and find out more information from the suppliers if they wish to. So this, yeah, it's really made it a lot easier for both suppliers and participants to approach each other. Actually, it's more comfortable on both sides. And it means that suppliers get direct access to all participants that are there on the day, not just a few. Now we've had really great feedback about this from both participants and suppliers, and we've also seen that it has significantly increased the interaction between council officers and suppliers. And yeah, so it's been a great success, and we're going to continue on with doing this at our future forums. And Jean-Louis, I'll hand back to you.
Thank you very much, Tanya. So you can see on the screen some photos of the events. I participated to it myself, and I thought, yeah, it was a great system, a great way to do that. So thanks very much, Tanya, for sharing that with us. That was great. So now I'll leave it to, sorry, I'm just trying to go to the next slide. I'll leave it to Magali Silva from the 3AR to talk to us about their lesson learned.
Okay, can you hear me, everyone?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so you will excuse my poor English, but I will do my best. So I'm very happy to be there. Thank you for inviting us to join your group. So I'm going to present how we have been creating a new project through the last 2 years in Aquitaine in France. We were looking for a new project in order to bring value to the services we were giving to our member, and we were also looking for a new financial partner. So we had this idea of being the intermediate between some regional members, like I'm looking for my words. Like, for example, the Environment Regional Agency. So we were looking for members like that were having strong policies, and we looked together whether our network could bring a way to work together and bring more sustainable procurement. And we've been working over 2 years now, and you know what, Jean-Louis? I'm looking for my words, and I think it sounds really too bad, as you know very well the subject. Don't you think it would be best for you to...
That's all right. I'm happy to step in, Magali, no worries.
Thank you so much.
That's all right. So basically, in a few words, what we thought with Magali was really interested to share with you is that sometimes, you know, finding money and finding partners to deliver great value to the members is a difficult challenge. And so the great thing that the 3AR has done for the past 2 years, as Magali indicated, is that they identify in their regions some organizations that are interested in the power of sustainable procurement to drive change on different topics. And so once the 3AR and people like Magali define those organizations, then they create a sort of project with them. And so you have a sponsor, a financial sponsor that will say, yes, we will do that project with the members of the 3AR. Could be expert support to members, could be some training, could be the development of some guidance with the members. could be some events, meet the supplier events. So this sponsoring partner provides the money, and then this money is used to, most of the time, fund, pay an expert to provide the support to the members. And what's really great about it is that, first of all, for 3AR, it's a complement to the funds, and it accounts for 40% of their budget now. So almost half of their budget is actually, and half of the services in some ways is they get it from external collaborations, provides great value to members. And through that, the 3AR develops a sort of ecosystem of partners around different topics and categories, because they realize that they can't be expert of everything. They can't be expert of organic sourcing or eco-friendly furniture or whatever. So how they do that? The 3AR, they try to match the member expectations about the sort of topics they want to work on with the public policies, for example. And by matching the public policies with the member expectations, you can find the money on one side and find the members interested to work on that on the other side. There's a work of advocacy and lobbying somehow with the government to tell the government and other sponsors procurement is a great tool to implement sustainability programs. Why? Because basically procurement, any organization, they spend between 40 and 80% of their budget on the supply chain. So you need actually procurement to deliver any sustainability program. And the way that the 3AR is approaching this partnership is that it's a true partnership. There's a duo between the 3AR, which provides the sustainable procurement expertise, and a technical expert, and they work hand in hand on that. So the 3AR is not only the administrator, it's a true partnership between two experts that complement each other. This is a slide we developed with Magali to show you the wide variety of things you can actually do. There's no limit to the sort of collaborations you can have, the sort of topics you can tackle, the sort of categories you can work on, the types of sponsors and expert partners and projects you can do. So the 3AR is actually always thinking about new partnerships that can provide some valuable services and with a sort of funding that is provided by an external sponsor. So it goes from circular economy to environmental health, organic food in canteens, furniture, end-of-life management, what works with the supplier. So I think for all the programs and all the networks that want to grow, it's about the program managers to go out there, advocate for sustainable procurement, and increasing their influence in their regions, so that you can build some very valuable partnerships for your members on different topics. So that is for the 3AR. If you have any other questions, please ask in the Q&A session. All right, so that's me again. Kushulain Kelly, who is the communications coordinator of the SPLC, is sending his apologies because it's probably 4 a.m. in the US. So even though he's a passionate sustainable procurement activist, he probably, like me, also likes to sleep a little bit every day. So I'm going to present on his behalf the lesson learned number 3, which is diversify membership base. So as I mentioned before, the SPLC is quite unique in a sense that it includes both public organizations and private companies in its membership. But not only public and private, but also non-for-profit. And so that's why they are so big in the US. And they succeeded to do that. So I know most of the time there's a clear delineation between public and private, and it can be seen as risky to mingle public and private because of all the rules related to public procurement, transparency, fairness, probity, all that stuff, corruption and all that stuff. But actually what the key lesson learned from them is that through this diversified membership base, they increase the number of organizations that build and share knowledge. And you can actually learn from organizations in other regions and sectors. And it has been quite an eye-opener for a lot of organizations. So basically, they're saying, well, even though we're a bit different, we're buying the same stuff. So we can share between each other. And the diversity of the organizations that share knowledge makes it more rich. Another benefit of diversifying the membership base is to improve the visibility, the credibility, and of course the budget of the programs. You have more people, more membership fees, you can do more things. And actually, if you look at the other programs that we've benchmarked, most of them are actually thinking about diversifying their membership. Some of them started with local councils and regional councils, and then they thought, why not try universities or hospitals or other public entities? So it's a big trend for all those programs to open their doors to different types of organizations. Comes with challenges, of course, and the way that they managed it in the Sustainable Purchasing Leadership Council is that so you can have 3 types of membership roles: purchaser, supplier, and public interest advocate. And when I talk about membership role, I'm talking about the staff. So an organization can actually have different membership roles for his staff. For example, a government agency that has a related advocacy mission, they can register their procurement people as a purchaser role, and they can register people doing some campaigns around the environment as public interest advocate. And just to give you an example, for a working group, let's say we have a working group working on organic sourcing for catering. As an organization, you can register different staff members to this working group. You can register them as purchaser, so people that purchase some catering services or food for the canteens. But you can also register somebody who's managing a campaign to increase the number of farmers that implement organic agriculture practices in the same group, but this guy will be a public interest advocate. So it creates a sort of diversity of views in the same working group, representing different views and different positions. And really the goal for the SPLC is to ensure that each of these 3 stakeholder groups, purchaser, supplier, and public interest advocate, has equal representation in all decision-making bodies of the program. And I think this is quite interesting because when you're thinking about a topic on sustainable procurement and you only have the purchaser view, you may be missing something, and your decisions and the outcome of your working group might be a little bit biased or incomplete. The SPLC is not the only organization to involve suppliers in the process. For example, the RGO is implementing some working groups where they invite suppliers to comment some of the work that is being done by the procurement people. But the key difference with the SPLC is that the suppliers have the same voice and the same importance in the program than purchasers. And it seems to be working quite well, so some food for thoughts for all the programs. Just an illustration of the diversity of the member organizations. So they have around 150 member organizations, and they were created only 3 years ago. And in terms of industries represented, it's quite diverse. So there are some industries that are well represented, such as consulting or non-for-profit or manufacturing. But if you look at the bottom of the slide, you have 20 other industries that have some sort of representation in the program. So I thought it was quite an interesting and original lesson learned to put forward. All right, so now I'll leave it to Philip to present a lesson learned by the Procura Network. I'll leave it to you, Philip.
Thank you very much, Louis, also for inviting ICLEI to speak at this webinar of the 10YP program on sustainable public procurement. I quickly go into some experiences from our Procura network. You may know ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, works worldwide. We have offices in more than 15 countries, and we have over 1,000 members that are public authorities or associations of public authorities. Today I will focus on our European networking activities, and as Jean-Louis mentioned already, it's about building the sense to community and family. So because I personally, but I think we here at ICLEI Europe also see that this is a key success factor for making networks work. And we basically started over 12 years ago now, setting up the network, and since then are continuously making the links and establishing those strong cooperation links. How we do this also with political support of our chair and vice chairs, so we are embedded into the political system, and this may explain also a bit our focus on the public authority side, only in terms of network members. Of course, within our activities, the manifold activities, we cooperate with all kind of different other bodies such as suppliers, manufacturers, expert body, international organizations, and so on. I want to give you one example today about a recent development. We redeveloped the Procure Plus manual, which is basically our guidebook since also more than 12 years, about sustainable public procurement and how to start implementing it at a public authority level. The third revision was just released a couple of weeks ago, and it was built in strong participation with our whole community, with our whole participants. You will find basically a story from every single participant of the Procura Plus network in this manual, in this book. And they are exciting stories, so I recommend you to give a look at this. And we developed this in cooperation and commons and making use of the creativity of our network. So that's an important factor to say. And also another point is that we are linking our participants and strategic partners, as rightfully said, a strong component of the network, to developing projects. So basically we are inviting them to come up with priorities. We look into suitable funding and how to do this. So for us it's important then also to nurture the community in terms of what is the real interest there behind. And this is one way to, for instance, then come up with projects such as GPP 2020 that's looking into calculating CO2 savings and the impacts that those purchasing bodies achieve. We, in this project, worked mainly with regional authorities and national purchasing organizations such as state government purchasing organizations were purchasing billions of euro each year. So that's very interesting and important to mention. And they also have then, as network participants, a priority to take part in those programs. You could already give me the next slide because we, as you rightfully say, we organize free events such as training, webinars, or our Procura Plus seminar series. This is a slide for basically the visual minutes of our seminar in 2015 that tell you a bit of the diversity of discussions and topics that have been discussed there intensively with around 100 partners of our network, and they are representatives, experts, the European Commission representatives, and so on. So why do I show this to you? It's important for us also to develop the programs of such events in a way that basically the voices of our participants are heard. So we start early before an event with a consultant, not with a consultant, but with basically doing a survey among our participants. What are the needs? What are current hot topics they are talking about, and where they would like to discuss in detail, for instance at our seminar, but also at our webinars. And doing this, we just come up with so-called capacity building groups at those seminars, and they intensively work on this topic at the event, and we are also forming working groups where basically for a limited time, maximum 2 years, a problem is addressed and solved, and also we make basically use of nurturing the community and finding twinning projects, twinning partners that can also be not only 2 people but also 3 authorities, 4 that come together and exchange on this. And just an anecdote from this year's Procure Plus seminar 2016, that was 13th and 14th October 2016 in Rome. We said, I was sitting outside there, outside the plenary hall in a break, and had a chat with purchasing director of a town in the Netherlands, and another person that is in charge of a small monitoring team in a public authority monitoring the impacts of public procurement, and with a person that recently started in a public authority, basically a trainee. And we had a chat outside there, and it was so intensive and so great basically to see those different kind of views, approaches, ideas just within 10 minutes to develop. And coming back from home, from Rome to my desk here in Freiburg in Germany, I got in the emails about, oh, that was so great, this type of exchange. I immediately started this in this activity project. Could you give me please the email address? I forgot to ask for the business cards, things like this. So basically it's important for our network to be part of a community. And I hope that Laurence from Agio will agree to this perception that I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Philip. Thanks, that was great. So the last one, not the last one actually, there's also the AP afterwards, but I'll leave it to Laurence to present us the lesson learned from the Réseau Grand Ouest in France. I'll leave it to you, Laurence.
Hello, hi everyone. Yes, I do, Philip. I agree with you and with always we do with Procura Plus. First of all, I want to excuse me for my English. French people have problem with English. I think. Thank you for inviting us to share our experience. You know a bit about RGO now, and I'm just going to speak about how RGO include decision makers in governance. So include elected representative in the governance and membership right at the creation of the program. They are our decision makers. Yes, it's indeed a very important issue. At RGO, actually, all members are each represented by both a political representative and a technical expert responsible for procurement. Yes, this tandem, this duo ensures municipalities' political or high-level commitment as well as implementation on an operational or technical level. These 2 levels of commitment are very important for a comprehensive acceptance of GPP and are integral for the network success. The goal is to increase commitment to the program. Yes, it's written, it belongs to us, and to secure political support. And I think in this field of SPP, the political support is a key of success. We actually observe that the public entities the most involved in our activities are those with a political commitment for these issues. Of course, even if not only, because it would be difficult otherwise, but yes, it's a key of success. And of course, it enables to ensure that programs' directions respond to members' needs, for example, public policy. So as I've said, to become a member, a public authority has to name a tandem, a duo, elected representative, political support, and staff member. All information on activities or events or administrative issues are sent to this tandem, and this tandem is a link for RGO in the entity. Yes, a special link. This tandem then gives the information to colleagues and people in the public authority. Yes, and another thing, only elected representatives can be on the board at RGO. Only them can validate program decisions. For example, the strategy of the RGO, the events, the topics, the issues, or for example, the participation at European project like XPP, or as Philip said, so told us, Procura Plus. Only the elected representatives on the board can take this decision for the network. So it proves that it's very important. It's very important at RGO. So another point, nurture the relationship with elected representative is important. For example, through sponsoring of working groups, introduction sessions. You can see on the next slides on the pictures. Shall we? Yes, of course. At each event organized by RGO, an elected representative introduces the session and underlines and emphasizes the importance to be a member. Yes, I think the elected representative are the best ambassador of sustainable procurement. And for me, another important point, the elected representative who support SPP will pay more attention at the most economically advantageous tender and sustainable criteria, and then when they have to choose a bidder in tender phases, also previous phases of tender, they will pay attention to choose not only the best price of the tender, but maybe the tender that is most economically advantageous and with sustainable criteria and social criteria yes. On the slide you can see our treat share. RGO, we celebrate this year the RGO birthday, 10 years, but on the slide you can see that we already had 3 chairs, and Gilles Mahé and Laura Martinez and Didier Guéraud, and we try for each event we organized to have the chair or a political representative to introduce this day. And on the last picture, you can see a working group.
Are you still here, Lawrence? We can't hear you very well.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks very much, Laurence. That was really great. So now I'll present briefly the last one. So APE, acquisti pubblici ecologici, their experience is interesting because they're really focusing on measuring, reporting, and communicating about what they do. So basically what they do is that they have an agreement protocol with all the members, and all the organizations that actually want to join the program, they have to sign this document that somehow engages them to include some sustainability criteria in their tenders, and then to monitor it and to monitor the impacts. So this is the first principle that they use to make sure that we can track things, because the program has a very specific objective, which is to deliver sustainability impacts through procurement. And so all their activities are around supporting their members to achieve this objective. So if you take the variety of services provided by the other programs, there's a lot of things there. Events, working groups, training sessions, trade shows, etc. Well, these guys in the province of Turin, they decided that they have another objective, which is narrower. The scope is narrower. So the sort of measurement they do first is that they're able, on those categories they are monitoring, they are able to differentiate those procurement activities, those contracts that are classical procurement, and those that are compliant with the protocol. So they are able to track the progress throughout the years around how much of the spend is actually covered by the protocol agreement. And you can see that when they started in 2004, it was really small in terms of what they could monitor. But then after 2009, I think they were able to monitor all their spend, and they were able to differentiate those that were basically green versus the non-green. But that's an overall graphic which doesn't provide any details, but the sort of details they can show is what you can see on the slide. So this graphic represents the total carbon emissions avoided through APE compliant procurement. So this is a total of emissions they have been able to avoid, and the different colors that you can see on this pie chart are the different categories of spend that have contributed to the carbon avoidance. So the biggest category is energy, electrical energy. So it's massive, it's more than 50%. And the second one, this orange one, is catering services through the tons of plastics avoided. So I thought it was quite interesting to show you that, because it shows that, you know, when you're doing something around sustainable procurement, you have to make sure you target the categories with big impacts. And certainly this pie chart shows that these guys have three priorities, including, you know, electricity and actually electricity vehicles and IT office equipment, and catering services. So that's it in terms of the presentation of the results of the benchmark. So thank you very much for staying here, because I can see there's still a lot of people, and not a lot of people have dropped off. So I think we still have 10 minutes for Q&A, so I'll leave it to Milena to take some questions.
Well, thank you very much, Jean-Louis. So just a small reminder on the technical side for all attendees. So if you raise your hand with the button, we'll be able to unmute you, and so you will be able to speak and to ask your question that way. So I see that we have a few hands already. So I will unmute Noor Hana Hamdi Hamad Mahdi. You will be able to speak now.
Hello, Noor Hana, the floor is yours.
No, sorry, I must be mistaken the raise hand. Sorry for that.
Okay, please go ahead. Okay, you don't have a question, huh? All right.
Yeah.
So I see here, no, someone. Then we have 2 written questions that we're gonna read. So the first question is from Marco Ghisoni, or it's a remark. He says it's important to stress that APE program is the only one with annual monitoring of the results. I think this is something also we just discussed now and presented. Economics and environmental. But he's asking the question, is it right or not? Jean-Louis, so talking about the APE program, would be the only one that does monitor the impact, I would say.
Yes, definitely, Marco. The APE, there's probably some other programs in the world that are doing it, but I think that most of the programs so far have been focused on sharing and building knowledge around different categories and topics with their members. And apart from the APE, none of them have taken the time and effort, which is big, to monitor the results. But I think we can see a trend now globally, which is organizations and programs realizing that if you don't measure what you're doing in terms of sustainability impacts, if you don't do that, then you're not able to justify your existence because you're not able to show your impacts on society. You're not able to celebrate success, and you're not able to communicate to the wider audience and to show that you're an amazing program. So measuring impacts is something that all those programs that we have benchmarked are working on. They're all finding it difficult and challenging, but they're all thinking about it because what gets measured gets done, communicated, and recognized.
Maybe just Philip Tepper here from ICLAI. Just to add to this, the Procura Network is also very much looking into monitoring the impact of our activities. You can find an achievements page on our website. It's regularly updated. It's about targets, it's about savings in all different kind of categories. And as you rightfully say, it's basically a starting point for a more comprehensive system to be put in place. Yes.
Any other comment from a member of a network organizer here regarding this question? How are you measuring impact? Is it true that it's only AP that does it, or maybe Réseau Grand Ouest or 3AR? What is your take on this question?
Laurence, monitoring and evaluation is a big issue, and we have a working group at the RGO, but it's ongoing, and yes, it's. I think it's a real issue and challenge, but we don't. Maybe we have public authorities, members who do monitor, but we are network, and we don't know what exactly do all our members. So I can't tell more about that.
And there is one impact that we saw is being monitored in priority is the carbon impact. right? And so maybe now with the Paris Agreement, and there will be maybe opportunities also to link in a more closer way sustainable procurement with climate change mitigation. This will become even more important. Do you share this opinion?
It's Philip here from ICLAI. Yeah, I completely share this, and we basically in several projects are taking the approach of measuring the impact in terms of CO2 emissions or energy savings made, sometimes also connected to economic savings, so for instance euro, or jobs created.
Okay, thanks, Philip. Then we have a question.
Just the GPP 2020 for a low carbon economy program, which maybe is the one you were thinking about, Philip. So GPP 2020 for low carbon economy program is, I think, quite good because it's doing exactly what you're saying. It's providing hard figures in terms of energy, carbon, and savings. Really good.
Yeah, low carbon procurement, I think. Low carbon procurement, right?
Yeah, yes,
low carbon procurement.
Yeah.
Right, that's one of the projects.
Okay, now we have a question for you, Jean-Louis. Is it possible to find, where is it possible to find the report, the benchmarking study that Planet Procurement did on the 6 programs?
Okay, that's an interesting one, so I have to discuss that with Sustainable Choice, because we initially shared it with the different programs that have been involved, but this is not something I can decide myself, so we'll have a chat with Sustainable Choice about that. And if possible, you know, we could share some of this study at least, or most of this study, so to be continued.
Okay, and that's
yeah, I think we possibly we'll look into how we can share it and how much. We are a partnership program with a New South Wales government department as well as the local government, so I'd have to clear it first with both those departments as to how much we share, but I'll certainly look into that.
Thanks, Tanya. That's a question I had actually, is how much of your outputs and tools are publicly available and how much are proprietary?
Yeah, well, all of our resources that we have online are publicly available, including the Sustainable Suppliers database. I'm not sure if we can write that up on screen, but anyhow, everyone has my email address, and you can email me and I can send you the link to our website, and we do have a lot of our reports up there as well, just not this benchmarking one at the moment, but as I said, I'll look into that. But otherwise, most of the other work and the other reports that we do are online, except we don't put the individual scorecard reports for every council online because they are specific to each council. They're not to be shared, but we do have an annual data report which gives the averages and the average results across all of those scorecard reports, which is available online too.
Thank you, Tanya. I'm asking the same question to Philip. Not Magali, I think is not there anymore, but Laurence. Are you out?
Yes.
Go ahead, Laurence. Go ahead.
What do you?
Are your outputs?
What do you want to know?
Are your outputs
yes.
publicly available or they are proprietary? I mean, online.
Not our guide, for example, our guide about our working group are proprietary. Okay. We can sometimes, if we have a demand, we can ask our chair and we can share our guide, but normally it's proprietary for our members. But we have you can see on our website we have many activities and sometimes it's available.
Okay, it's the same I think for SPLC. Some of their guides and tools are publicly available, and some are for only for the members. Philippe?
Yeah, it's particularly the same. Also, Procura Plus aims to make as much available to the public as possible. Say, this Procura Plus manual is freely available. You can get your PDF download or a paper copy. The website contains a lot of information about actually what each of our public authorities, our participants are doing, including presentations from our events and outcomes and results. So I invite you to take a look at our website, procuraplus.org.
Thank you, Philippe. Jean-Louis, you want to add something on this from your study?
Yes, Farid. I probably want to make the point that the global trend is for sharing the knowledge. More and more knowledge is available online for free. And I think in the field of sustainable procurement, because the main issue we have in terms of sustainable procurement is that we don't have enough organizations or enough people in those organizations that believe in the power of sustainable procurement, that understand that it's not more costly, it's just good procurement that delivers better social, economic and environmental results. And so we need more people to understand that this is a big movement, this is something huge, and to show that this is huge, I think that we have to share as much as we can. Success stories and case studies that are actually showing that if you're implementing sustainable procurement today, you're not a leader or a pioneer anymore. You're just part of a big movement that has started probably 10, 15 years ago, and any type of organization from any location, any size in any industry can actually do it. And I think there's a big work to do about sharing as much knowledge as we can and making it visible.
Great. I think you will walk the talk and you will share also your study to be in line with your this.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That's a good point.
Well, another question for you, since you're also the head, I think, of the Mirror Committee of ISO 2400 in Australia, or really very closely associated to ISO 2400. The question from Sebastien is how to include, or the linkages that can be done or made between ISO 2400 and the networks. Okay.
I think, yes, I think the ISO 20400 standard provides a sort of globally accepted framework based on consensus from all the countries, from 50 countries in the world that have developed something that is applicable anywhere. It's applicable in any country. It's applicable for any type of organization of any size and in any industry. So the ISO 20400 provides the widest and the most internationally guidance manual on how to do sustainable procurement. So it's a great tool for anybody, and it will enable those networks to have the same language and the same way of doing sustainable procurement. That's great. Then I think, for the networks, all those networks, regional networks, local networks, in different contexts, different objectives, I think for them they shouldn't spend a lot of time on thinking about the framework, because it has been done at an international level. So the network should focus their time on maybe adapting or using this framework, this tool, to adapt it to their local context first, right? And also use this tool to show, I would say probably use this tool to show to potential new members and recruits that this is an international movement. We are not the only one to do it. Everybody's doing it worldwide. This is an ISO standard. This is big. So I think that this tool will be very helpful for all those networks to be more efficient, to use that to gain some credibility about the importance of the topic worldwide. and also to get some ideas, because in this standard you will have a lot of great ideas about how to manage a procurement function, from policy strategy to organizational drivers to the procurement process. So a lot of good material to help networks to be more efficient.
Thank you, Jean-Louis. We have a question from Veronique Diebold in Switzerland, our friend Veronique, and she's asking in the Meet Two Suppliers sessions, so I guess this is being done by Sustainable Choice, I guess, yes. The question is for Sustainable Choice, for Tanya. She's asking you, how do you select the suppliers that participate? Do you have criteria that ensure that they have a real green product? In parentheses, in quote, green. Tanya.
Yes, so the suppliers are all listed on our Sustainable Suppliers database, and if you go into the database, which is www.sustainablechoice.org.au, you can see there are a number of sustainability indicators, 10 in total, and there's an explanation behind each of those that we assess each supplier against when they apply for an account on the database. Some of those sustainability indicators are, well, what you would expect, social responsibility, you're looking for water efficient, energy efficient, those sorts of things. But what we do is, and what the database is not about necessarily having suppliers there that tick all the boxes. We also have suppliers who do meet some of the criteria and are sort of on a journey to becoming more sustainable, but certainly, you know, have progressed further than, say, most suppliers within their category have. And the way that we demonstrate this is that under each product listing, the product is given ticks underneath the indicators that they meet. So then that gives the user of the database the option to make an informed decision around different products and different suppliers of how sustainable they are compared to others. And those suppliers are the suppliers that are contacted to be part of this trade show. Does that answer the question?
Great, Tanya. Thanks for this very clear reply. Now I have a request from a question from Marco Glisoni or Luana Scaccianoce, and they're asking if the presentations will be uploaded on the UNEP website. So the reply is that we will send a follow-up email with the link to the presentations that will be uploaded on the SCP Clearinghouse. So you will be able to consult the presentations online and to download them if you want. And also they're giving us the link to the APE monitoring. I guess it's annual, so we will share also this link in our follow-up email. Veronique is thanking you for your reply, Tanya, and I'm just checking if there are any other questions. Yes, Veronique is asking Torino if you're using GPP 2020 calculators to measure the CO2 reductions or savings. Sorry, she doesn't have a mic.
Because Valeria is not here, I will respond with the knowledge I have. So, no, I don't think they've been using it. They've been using their own systems. So they're using the spend data they have through some of the procurement systems and extracting, categorizing their spend depending on the types of products and services, and then they're doing a sort of compilation of data, which I think is very manual, which is why it takes a lot of time to do it. So of course, the technology now is increasingly better, and so the systems, also the procurement systems, are more and more sophisticated. So there is really an opportunity to use the technology to be better at monitoring and measuring impacts. And there's a lot of programs that are actually exploring that. I remember having some discussion with Sustainable Choice about that, how we can have include sustainability in some of the procurement/purchasing systems to be able to track automatically, actually through some basic inputs from the users, some of the sustainability indicators. So technology is a big trend because it's better and better.
Thank you, Jean-Louis. And the last question before we wrap up is from Sébastien Gain, and he's asking, by and large, how can we better include representatives from the private sector? And you replied, Jean-Louis, and you mentioned the interesting experience of SPLC, where they have an equal representation of suppliers and purchasers and public, representatives from civil society. And so, I'm asking you, Jean-Louis, do you see a trend for a better inclusion and participation of companies, private sector representatives like industry federations in those networks? And then maybe some of the representatives of the network can reply then.
I would say that this is not a big trend because mainly because of the nature of public procurement, and we've been used to work with a harmless relationship with any type of company, suppliers of course, but any type of company, because of the fairness of treatment of suppliers. So most of the programs are not heading that way. I think the US is a bit more liberal in that way and a bit more open, but the big trend is for a diversification of membership, of members within the public sector. So, all those public or public-owned or publicly related organizations such as universities, hospitals, a lot of different organizations that are submitted to public procurement rules and procedures. But because traditionally most of these programs have been triggered and launched by local councils, regional councils, because of the because they are key players in public procurement, but most of these organizations are actually diversifying. So maybe the RGO can Laurence, maybe you can talk about it. I don't know if you have some good insights on the evolution of the RGO in this field of membership.
Membership, what do you mean with membership? With Supplier?
Private sector.
No,
the private sector.
Yeah, in terms of how the RGO started with many regional and local councils, and then you opened your members, organizations that can be members, to different organizations than local councils and regional councils, and maybe some private organizations from the private sector. I can't remember.
No, we have in our network we have only public entities.
Any hospitals or any things like that, or any different?
They can be members now, but it's not the case. We have a university, but not yet.
Okay. And Philip, if you're still here.
Okay, the question was if basically Procura Network would open up through the private sector in terms of membership. We had this discussion on and off, definitely, and our chair and vice chairs have a clear position on this. This is a network for public authorities as being the participants of the network. For strategic partners, we are cooperating with a manifold of other sectors. So basically there you have private companies in there. You have consultancy or sector organizations involved. So we are already taking part in cooperation with the private. But we do not want to put everything in the same washing machine, if you understand me, with the private procurement and public procurement. And this is on a clear purpose, and I do not think that this would change in the near future.
Thank you, Philip.
I agree, Philip. May I just add that private companies are, in most cases, private companies consider sustainable procurement as a competitive advantage. So in their industry, they see that as, when they do great stuff, as a way to look better than their competitors. So this is why when you look on the web at some case studies around sustainable supply chain management or sustainable procurement or responsible sourcing, you don't find a lot of case studies from companies. What they do now, the private companies, is that they're collaborating in their industry only, sometimes, on evaluation of suppliers. So they will tend to evaluate the suppliers together. And sometimes they will also collaborate to build the capability of their suppliers in terms of sustainability, or maybe do some audits as well. So they do collaborate in some ways when they feel that there is an interest, but sharing their knowledge with the world, some are doing it, but you can clearly see the difference between public and private in terms of the amount of knowledge that is shared on the web for everybody.
Great.
If I can have, yes?
Go ahead.
Yes?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I think, in my opinion, it's very important to work with the public, with the private sector. As RGO, for example, for each working group, we meet the supplier because it's important to hear, to listen to what they have to tell about tenders, and for the public authorities, it's important to know the market, and so. But in the network, it will be difficult to work together, I think, because we work with public entity for tenders, to prepare tenders, to integrate sustainable criteria, and I think it would be very difficult to integrate private sector in our network.
Okay, that's very clear, Laurence. Thank you very much. So we had different situations depending on the types of networks, their objectives, their nature, etc. It will be, I think, highlighted in your study, Jean-Louis. Okay, very good. I think we're ready to wrap up. I'd like to thank all of you for the speakers for great presentations. We had a very rich and informative webinar with a very good attendance rate. We will share with you the link to the recording, which will be on our YouTube channel. I would like to finish also by thanking Milena for having organized all that, and for Jean-Louis, and I will give him the final word.
Oh, thank you very much, Farid. So, as I said before, any question you have, please, when you look at the webinar, look at the email addresses of those people. And if you want any more questions, if you don't want to send me some emails, this is my email address, so please send any question you have on the study, and hopefully we can share most of the study with all the network. So thank you very much.
Yes, you better, right, Jean-Louis? Okay. And good night in Australia. Good morning and in France.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank